It was late, and the small Mississippi town was quiet under the cold light of a full moon. A young man walked alone along the empty dirt road, his footsteps dragging the dust. He was poor and desperate, carrying nothing but his guitar, a battered instrument that had brought him more ridicule than applause. Earlier that night, he'd been laughed off stage, humiliated in front of a crowd who barely bothered to listen. The shame cut deep, twisting in his gut, gnawing at his thoughts. He dreamed of becoming something more, of escaping his life of poverty and hardship. But now, as he wandered alone, he could feel the weight of hopelessness settling over him, pressing down on his heart like an iron fist. He didn't even realize where he was going. He was just walking, following a strange pull, an unforeseen force that seemed to draw him forward, step by step down the lonely road. Then up ahead he saw it, a crossroads, two roads crossing beneath the pale moonlight, empty and still. The young man stopped, feeling a chill creep down his spine. He glanced around, but the crossroads was deserted, nothing but the sound of wind whispering through the trees and the dust swirling across the road. For a long moment he stood there in silence, wondering why he'd come. Maybe he'd just been a fool, chasing a dream that was never meant to be. But then he felt it. A strange shift in the air, as if the night itself was holding its breath. And then from the shadows, a dark figure emerged. The young man froze, his heart pounding as the figure stepped into the moonlight. It was a man, tall and imposing, his face obscured by the shadows of his hat. A deep, unsettling calm radiated from him, a presence that seemed to fill the entire crossroads. The young man swallowed. His hands trembled on the neck of his guitar. The stranger spoke, his voice low and smooth, almost a whisper. "I've been waiting for you," he said. The young man's mouth went dry, but he couldn't look away. Something in the stranger's eyes held him there, a dark, magnetic pull that seemed to reach into his very soul. "Are you here for what I think you're here for?" the stranger asked, his voice curling through the air like smoke. Unable to speak, the young man nodded. The stranger held out his hand, and without a word, the young man handed him his guitar, feeling a strange, electric thrill shoot through him as he let it go. The stranger took the guitar, his fingers gliding over the strings with effortless grace, tuning it with a speed and precision that seemed almost unnatural. With each twist of the tuning pegs, the air grew heavier, charged with a dark, simmering energy. The young man felt something stir within him, a strange sensation that prickled along his skin and settled deep in his chest. It was as if something powerful and ancient was winding its way into his soul, binding itself to him in a way he could never escape. The stranger strummed a single chord, and the sound that filled the night was unlike anything the young man had ever heard. A dark, resonant tone that seemed to echo from somewhere deep beyond this world, carrying with it whispers of secrets and shadows. Then with a nod, the stranger handed the guitar back to him. The young man took it, his hands trembling as he wrapped his fingers around the neck. He strummed, and this time the notes rang out clear and pure, a haunting melody that seemed to pulse with life. Something inside him had changed. He could feel it deep in his bones. It was as if part of his soul had shifted, claimed by something he couldn't understand. The stranger stepped back, a faint, unsettling smile curving on his lips. His voice dropped to a chilling murmur, lingering in the night air. "Go on, Robert Johnson," he said. "Play your songs. Enjoy every moment, because soon enough, I'll be back to claim what's mine." Welcome back this week to The Ryan Files. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends. Today, we dive into one of music's most enduring mysteries, the legend of Robert Johnson, the man who supposedly sold his soul to the devil at the Crossroads and went on to influence an entire genre of rock and roll. Johnson's story is one of talent, mystery, and the supernatural, and by the end, we'll see why some call him the true architect of rock, even though Elvis became its king. Robert Johnson was born in 1911 in Hazelhurst, Mississippi, a small town in the heart of the Delta Blues territory. Growing up poor and often moving from place to place, Johnson was drawn to music from a young age. The Mississippi Delta was not only home to great blues musicians, but also steeped in hoodoo, an African American spiritual practice with roots in African, Native American, and European traditions. Hoodoo was central to life in the Delta, with people believing in the power of charms and herbs and spells to bring protection or influence fortune. The crossroads in hoodoo symbolize a place of power and spiritual intersection where one might summon spirits or make pacts. In hoodoo, a person seeking a particular talent, often musical or artistic, might go to the crossroads at midnight or just before dawn. They would bring a personal item, such as an instrument or a tool of their trade, or even a small offering. They might sit in silence, focusing on their desire for skill or mastery, and then play or practice their craft as an offering to the spirits. In some traditions, they would wait until a spirit appears, which might take the form of a large animal like a black dog or a large bird, or even a shadowy figure. When this entity appears, it's believed to imbue the seeker with the skill they desire, though often at a hidden or symbolic cost. So for people of Johnson's time, these beliefs weren't just stories. They were woven into the fabric of daily life. The legend of Johnson's deal with the devil might have seemed plausible in the setting where a desperate musician could make a bargain at a supernatural crossroads. This is all highlighted as Johnson's story takes a curious turn early in his career. By most accounts, he was initially an unremarkable guitarist, good enough to get by, but certainly not good enough to impress. Then, one day, he simply vanished from the local music scene. Some say he disappeared for a number of months, with no word of why he left or where he went. When he reappeared, it was as if he had been reborn, with an uncanny, almost supernatural mastery of the guitar. His peers, including Delta blues legends like Son House, were astounded by his transformation. So what happened during that disappearance? That is the question. One theory suggests he learned under Ike Zimmerman, an obscure yet highly skilled bluesman who supposedly taught Johnson how to play guitar late at night in graveyards. Another theory, of course, is that his transformation was the result of this fabled crossroads deal. Either story is a bit unsettling, but whatever the truth, his return marked the beginning of a short but legendary career. Now, upon Johnson's return, he immediately began to leave an indelible mark on blues music. He recorded just 29 songs in a few short sessions, but his style, lyrical intensity, and haunting guitar techniques were unforgettable. His songs like Crossroad Blues, Me and the Devil Blues, Hellhound on My Tail, and Sweet Home Chicago became blues standards and would go on to influence generations of musicians. In those years, he played up and down the Delta, his reputation growing rapidly. Yet, his fame was tinged with that eerie legend, drawing as much interest in his rumored pact with the devil as his music. Then, in 1938, Johnson's life ended as mysteriously as it had been transformed. At just 27 years old, he died under unclear and suspicious circumstances. Some say he was poisoned by a jealous husband after flirting with the man's wife. Others believe the death was somehow tied to his alleged deal with the devil. Johnson's burial is equally mysterious, with 3 different grave markers in Mississippi, each claiming to be his final resting place. Was it so claimed as part of his pact? Or was his death simply the tragic end of a young man living a hard life? Johnson's death at 27 makes him the first known member of the 27 Club, a group of musicians who died at that age under often tragic circumstances. His death set the precedent, and the supposed curse would claim others like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. Now, despite recording only a handful of songs, Johnson's influence permeated rock and blues. Musicians from Eric Clapton and Keith Richards to Led Zeppelin and Bob Dylan cited him as primary influences in their music. Clapton once said that Robert Johnson's music haunted him and felt almost supernatural. Interestingly, many of Johnson's greatest admirers face personal tragedies, creating a modern myth that those who fell under his spell were somehow cursed, just as he was. This curse has added to Johnson's legend and cemented his status as not just a musician, but a haunting force in music history, whose influence extended far beyond his lifetime. Robert Johnson might not have lived to see the birth of rock and roll, But he laid its foundations, no doubt about it. His innovative guitar styles, themes of love, loss, and rebellion, and his haunting melodies influenced every generation of rock and blues musicians to follow. Sure, Elvis Presley may have become the king of rock and roll, bringing it to the masses, but Johnson was the architect. He built the framework, crafted the style, and shaped the themes that would define rock for decades to come. So next time you hear the haunting twang of a slide guitar or the dark pulsing chords of blues-inspired rock, remember Robert Johnson, the man who may have given up everything for the music we know today. And so Robert Johnson's story, steeped in mystery and shadow, fades into legend. A young man, alone at the crossroads, striking a fateful deal with the devil that would echo through generations. But perhaps Johnson's pact was only the beginning of something larger, something that reaches across time, influencing artists to this very day. Look around. In modern music, symbols of the occult, imagery of darkness, and whispers of the Illuminati are everywhere. On album covers and music videos, even woven into the lyrics of chart-topping hits. Today's superstars, some of the most famous names in the industry, don the symbols of the all-seeing eye, the pentagram, and hidden cryptic messages. Some wear it proudly, others subtly, almost hidden in plain sight. It's become so common, so expected, that we often don't even question it. Artists like Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce, Kanye West have all been connected to symbols that have been long associated with the Illuminati and the occult. They gesture to the heavens in triangular signs, obscure verses fill their lyrics, and cryptic images flash in their videos. Is it just fashion, just clever marketing? Or is there something darker lurking beneath the surface? And then there's Taylor Swift, whose Reputation era introduced a darker, almost occult-like imagery. She surrounded herself with symbols of snakes, phoenixes, and rebirth, with nods to being transformed and the hidden power and mysticism. With her imagery and lyrics, and let's face it, amazing success, some wonder if Swift's rise is more than artistry, perhaps a subtle acknowledgement of something darker, just beyond our understanding. Even in lyrics, the whispers continue. Bob Dylan once spoke of making a deal with a chief commander beyond this world, hinting at a pact with forces unseen. Kanye West has openly rapped, "I sold my soul to the devil. It was a crappy deal." Billie Eilish's song, "All the Good Girls Go to Hell," opens up with the creepy phrase, "My Lucifer is lonely." And of course, we also have Lil Nas X descending into hell on a stripper pole and giving Lucifer a lap dance while rapping, "Call me when you want, call me when you need." Take a look for yourself. Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, P. Diddy. It's kind of crazy. Literally, no-name talents that all of a sudden rose to the top overnight, backed with all the imagery, symbols, and lyrics to make you wonder. And we're just talking about the music business here. Take a look into the film and acting world, the business and finance world, the technology world. Oh yeah, even the world of politics. You'll be surprised to see what truths are out there if you're curious enough to look. So what if, just as Robert Johnson met a figure at the crossroads on that lonely moonlit night, today's icons are making their own deals? Deals for fame, power, and influence on a scale Johnson could only dream of. Could it be that these stars too have struck a bargain, offering up a piece of themselves in exchange for unimaginable success? Or is it all simply a coincidence? Maybe the symbols, the rumors, the cryptic lyrics are just that, nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Or maybe, just maybe, when we hear the haunting echoes of Robert Johnson's guitar or see occult symbols flash across our screens, maybe it's more than just entertainment. What if the crossroads are still out there, waiting in the darkness, just as they always have? And what if, somewhere in the stillness of the night, a shadowed figure stands, waiting to make a deal with anyone bold enough to ask and foolish enough to pay the price? Thank you so much for joining me this week on The Ryan Files. As always, subscribe to this channel. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in helping out this channel, stop by theryanfiles.com. Become an agent. We can't wait to welcome you into our community. Thank you so much. Stay curious out there, my friends. Be awesome, be kind, be generous, and I will see you right here next week on The Ryan Files.
Are you not curious?
Preparing to transfer the Ryan Files. Now.
I present to you, with great intrigue and wonder, the Ryan Files.
Thank you so much for joining me this week on the Ryan Files, friends. As always, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in helping out this channel, stop by theryanfiles.com and become an agent. We can't wait to welcome you to our community. Thank you in advance. Don't hit your microphone.